So good day everyone. I'm going to discuss the difference between Scratch and the framework and also its advantages and disadvantages. Let's start with the Scratch and its advantages. So first and foremost, the advantages of Scratch is it gains more knowledge. If you want to learn the build, then build from the scratch for gaining experience. So after that, it will easier to understand how professional frameworks work, and you'll be able to use them so effectively in production. Because you're doing it in a scratch, you are also creating your own contents from CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and much more, and also from your database. Next is the freedom to add feature on your site. So when you're writing your own code, you can create a completely new and different design. It is also necessary to dedicate a large amount of time to this task. Also, you must have a clear idea of how the website will be structured, and in spite of everything, there is no doubt that you will have a great freedom with the design of a site if you are write the code from the scratch. So next is it helps you grow as a developer. It is true that the process of creating a website get divided into phases. It does not imply that every phase is the same for different projects. So you can have a similar projects, but there is an opportunity to learn or apply some new technology or languages. So next is you have a control over the site hosting services. Many platforms that offer website creation service including hosting option inherits in their plans. It is common because if you are going to create a website, you will need a hosting server to host your site. And let's go. And now we've discussed the advantages using Scratch. Now let's go for the disadvantages using Scratch. First is it is a time consuming. Yes, it is. It consumes time writing code from scratch. Some projects cost a longer period in order to coming up with the best output. So lastly is you will going to start from the beginning. So implementing a new libraries, new codes for your project in Scratch. So now we've done our defining the advantages and disadvantages in using Scratch. Now let's proceed to our framework. The advantages of using a framework. So framework is a open source. Yes, it is. Framework are super helpful for writing website, constructing a website, because they enforce a structure that other developers in the framework understand, and they gave you a common functionality, so you don't have to reinvent like for example the Bootstrap for your presentation. Second is time saving. So when you say code is everything from scratch, you're leaving out of a lot of details. There are a lot of different contexts to what you could mean by framework. So if you're going to ask what is the best, is to build a software. Building a software is about delivery. So what is the best is what makes delivery the most successful. Next is the efficiency. So frameworks eliminate the need to write a lot of representative code that will find being used in many applications. Its efficiency will never be underestimated. You can expect to build a project in much less time that would be achieving writing a code without a framework. Next is the advantages of framework is its security. As far as I know, the framework usually it developed and tested by many different developers, so it gains a strong level of security. Next is the cleaner and extensible. So every framework follows design pattern. So when some frameworks you have to follow their coding conventions, which makes your code clean and extensible for future purpose. Now let's Now we've discussed the advantages of using a framework. Now let's discuss the disadvantages of framework. First is the availability. So perhaps the greatest challenge faced by others are the availability to all some frameworks, because some frameworks are not available, and others also to those who use it for wrong intention to find flaws and weakness in the framework. Second is the modification. On the downside, however, it gives limitation for the developer's ability to modify codes. One learns the frameworks and not the language. Using frameworks only helps with designing the software better, but has nothing to do with the programming language. And lastly is it discourage the learning a actual language. Frameworks are built in and ready to edit or modify given by the developers. Frameworks handle the implementations of certain functionalities for developers in the background, because they can learn and use the frameworks to develop and deploy web applications. So without an in-depth understanding of the programming language itself. So it eliminates the chances of these programmers getting to grasp the programming languages in better use. So thereby, it limits one knowledge to only a few libraries that are conversant with the language. So, and thank you for watching, and God bless all.
Damn.